Welcome to That's Good Sports. I'm Brandon. I've been traded by my wife for a real man, Perna. Looks like my daughter will be raised by a true grit, red-blooded American who can bench press more than 40 pounds. All 40 pounds of little Dion Lewis nearly tied the game for the Giants on Monday Night Football. Tom Brady against the Giants. No matter how bad New York is, always causes Brady to lose his shit. Like he just downed a bottle of Miralax instead of his TB12 human protein shake. I will give you my takeaways from that game and highlight the NFL trades that actually happened on this otherwise very insignificant day in American history. That's good sports. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you have subscribed, thanks. Today's episode is sponsored by manscaped.com/goodsports, and they're accelerating their body grooming dominance with the Performance Package, which now includes the Weed Whacker to clean the shrubbery protruding from your nostrils and even your ears. The Weed Whacker is the only nose hair trimmer on the market with a cordless, rechargeable lithium-ion battery that lasts for up to 90 minutes of use. Now, I'm no medical doctor, but if it takes you more than 90 minutes to trim your nose hairs, you might have a serious medical condition. Unlike your pubes, there's no hiding nose hairs that get too long. And if your nose hairs are too long, how can you smell your pubes? So take 20% off of your nose hairs with the Weed Whacker and 20% off the price of the Performance Package when you use my discount link below, manscaped.com/goodsports, which also includes free shipping. I do have some good news. Good news for everyone today. Nothing is more important than your health, and the science is in. For those of you who still actually believe in science, according to a new study, the secret to maintaining perfect health is being able to spend $1 million a year on your body, like LeBron James and Russell Wilson. Once you have an extra $1 million to spend per annum, you can finally get healthy and hire a full-time personal trainer, physical therapist, massage therapist, a real massage therapist, not like the ones Robert Kraft employs, and 2 full-time chefs. If you can't afford that, enjoy your daily dose of McDonald's and brace for a long, slow, painful death. Now, Andy Dalton is in the COVID protocol, so we get 1 more week of Ben DeNiche. Wait, no, not so fast. Per Ian's rapping report, Dallas is considering making Cooper Rush their starting quarterback this week. Cooper Rush, of course, is just a time-traveling Andy Dalton who showed up 2 weeks too late to prevent his future self from suffering the worst concussion of his career. Hell, had John Elway not tested positive for COVID-19, Jerry Jones might have enticed John to start for the boys this week. Elway getting the Rona means his ride on the scooter must have finally come to an end.
Johnny John John!
I know one thing for sure. If you be scootin', the Rona can't be hatin'. Get well soon, John. Now, the NFL trade deadline ended up being fairly quiet. Disappointing like it does every year, but we don't learn. We do not learn. We keep thinking, oh, this big trade's gonna happen. Not in the NFL. And since people need the clicks, a desperate conglomerate of NFL media members, beat writers, and lowly bloggers were dropping names like J.J. Watt, Stephon Gilmore, and Will Fuller as guys who could be traded. None of them were. Instead, the Chargers traded a very good corner in Desmond King for nothing on Monday. Desmond King is an all-pro. I have tight end written in the script for some reason. Desmond King is an all-pro corner in the final year of his rookie deal. The Chargers essentially said a great corner is not worth paying, so let's get as little for him as possible and send him to Tennessee for a 6th round draft pick. King's first 2 seasons in the league were standout years, and the last 2, he was good. But Tennessee, after getting torched by the Burrow they call Joe, realized they definitely need help in the secondary and get it with King. King is a great slot/nickel corner, and maybe the Chargers felt good letting him walk with Chris Harris Jr. set to return soon. The Titans are getting a guy who hasn't given up a touchdown this season and is still the Chargers' highest graded corner right now, according to Pro Football Focus, even though he's played significantly fewer snaps this season. He's also a decent punt returner. So congratulations, Tennessee, you successfully fleeced the Chargers. Not that that's anything special. A team that has blown 16-plus point leads in 4 straight games, who now have plans to rectify that by making their secondary shittier. Now the 49ers are metaphorically dead. George Kittle is now out 8 weeks with a broken bone in his foot. Jimmy G is sidelined indefinitely with a high ankle sprain, and you already know about the long list of all of their other key injuries this season. This leaves the Niners looking ahead to the future, which is why they sent linebacker Kwon Alexander and his contract to the Saints in exchange for linebacker Kiko Alonso and a 5th-round pick. Kiko has now been traded 4 times, making him the NFL equivalent of a consolation prize. Sorry, Kiko. The Saints never met a contract they didn't love. And knowing their salary for 2021 is currently $276.2 million when the cap is projected to be $175 million makes me think the Saints know there will be no 2021. I do think Kwon Alexander provides the Saints with an instant boost to a middle-of-the-road defense. Right now, Alex Anal Zone is letting everything go right through him. Hopefully Kwon can come in and help plug up that hole in the middle of the Saints' D. If the Saints don't trade Anal Zone to the Dolphins to pair with Ginkle, I will stop watching football. If you don't think Rip Van Ginkle and Anal Zone belong together, how do you explain this? They're the same fucking guy. Also, the Saints need Kwon's athleticism and coverage. They're actually 3rd best against the run right now, so this might be the piece they've been missing. I do think John Boyes on Twitter summed Daniel Jones' play up perfectly with this tweet. He finger-typed, "Looks like I'm in for another 14 years of watching a Giants quarterback and never, ever being able to figure out if he's actually good or not." That was the exact impression I got from watching Daniel Jones on Monday night, in a game where the Giants were incredibly close to upsetting Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. The Giants, on their best night, still aren't good enough to beat the Buccaneers on their worst night. Tom Brady is the first quarterback in football history, though, to not know how to play a game with Mike Evans. Johnny Manziel, Jameis Winston, Ryan Fitzpatrick all feasted with Evans, and Brady doesn't know how to use him. Yet Tom does have more wins because he just refuses to throw the ball to the other team, which some would argue is a better way to play football than getting a lot of yards with Mike Evans. Okay, I hear you. Now many will say Daniel Jones can't throw. That's not true. He can throw. He can throw very well, actually. He just can't do it consistently. And he can't do it under pressure. And his deep ball is as reliable as Jones is in the open field. He threw 2 bad interceptions against Tampa, but he probably should have thrown 4. He probably should have had 2 to 3 more touchdown passes, and most importantly, he needs to remind himself he's not a statue like Eli Manning before him. Just because you were groomed by the same quarterback coach the Mannings had doesn't mean you need to play a mobile football like a Manning. Watching Jones is frustrating. But Daniel, you just need to look in the mirror and say to yourself, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, you're as fucking fast as Tyreek Hill, and run the goddamn football when the play breaks down. Daniel Jones is one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure I've watched this season. And I watched Drew Lock against the Chiefs 2 weeks ago. Jones ended up making the throw here, but drifting backwards in the pocket instead of stepping into it with a clear lane is the truest sign a young QB hasn't figured the game out yet. The other times he did this, he was intercepted. Now I tweeted that Josh Allen if he were terrified to run, would be Daniel Jones. I did not mean that as a dig on Allen. I should have been better with my words. I was trying to say Daniel Jones plays like a scared Josh Allen. Allen isn't scared to use his body to make something out of nothing. Conversely, Jones isn't scared to throw a pass while being tackled. And ultimately, those passes go to the other team. Josh Allen still has inconsistency issues with accuracy, and both quarterbacks have thrown 4 picks in their last 4 games. What we've seen from Allen, though, is the ability to limit his turnovers and play games like a legit quarterback. We have not really seen that from Daniel Jones on a regular basis. Now, the Giants gave the world a blueprint on how to beat the Buccaneers. Unfortunately, the Giants don't know how to read blueprints. New York controlled this game. They ran the ball effectively. Somehow, the Giants ended up with 101 total rushing yards, which is like 31 more than the Bucs are allowing per average every game. So I think Tampa might be missing Vita Vea in the middle of that defense. And if you commit to running the ball, you might be able to do it against the Bucs. And when Daniel Jones wasn't making mistakes, the passing game was successful in the moderate to short range. They also showed that you still have to beat the referees in addition to beating a Tom Brady-led team. And even if you play a solid football game, you will lose when you miss on all of your deep ball or dynamic play opportunities, which the Giants did miss on. The Bucs were aided by the officials as Tom has shifted his finances out of New England and officially into Tampa's Bio-Ref Foundation. The Giants were flagged for tackling Cameron Brate, which had NFL players watching the game pissed off on Twitter. And even though Dion Lewis was pass interfered with on the final play, the officials picked up the flag. I don't think that really would have mattered though. Now, I was really hoping the Giants would use Blake Martinez in some blitz packages to get to Brady. I don't think that would have really helped New York win the game, but I would pay the NFL equivalent of the veteran minimum to see Blake Martinez do this to Tom Brady's head. And finally, Bruce Arians was dressed for the occasion. If that occasion were a funeral for a fucking robot. I'm not sure why Bruce is the only coach in the NFL to have XLR cables strapped to his chest like a suicide bomber of sound, but I think I like it. Bruce had glasses for his glasses, which makes the fact that he couldn't see the Giants coming to nearly derail the Bucs season even more perplexing. If 2 pairs of glasses doesn't help you stop Wayne Gallman, nothing will. And maybe the Buccaneers are more beatable than we think. Thanks for watching. That's Good Sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I promise, I'm here to let you down.